Halo Infinite has a problem. Loads of people playing it don't know what it feels like to be a Spartan. For context, in Halo Infinite you play as a Spartan 4, the 4th series of Spartans. They weren't abducted as children and physically augmented in the same way that Master Chief was, he was one of the original Spartans, but they're still wearing the Mjolnir armor. They each weigh about 300 kilograms with the armor on and stand about 7 feet tall. They are massive and they are terrifying. They can flip tanks with their bare hands, like just turn them over without a problem. They can survive a fall from orbit without a spaceship. Master Chief has done that repeatedly. They're basically the absolute perfect badass. They are incredible soldiers. I've seen people complaining that in Halo Infinite the weapons don't feel strong enough, and this is often from people who are new to the series. They feel weapons aren't powerful, that it takes way too long to kill people, and that's really by design. When you're attacking a Spartan, first you have to get through their powerful energy shield, and those shields are really tough. They can take a hell of a beating, and then when you've got through the shields, you need to punch through the armor, and that armor is incredibly tough. In previous Halo games, players generally had a decent idea of just how powerful their Spartans are, and that's because they had campaign. So when they had campaign to play through, and I think a lot of people played through the campaign before they got involved in the multiplayer, you're often up against things like grunts and jackals, and they're all fleshy, they've got all of their flesh just out on display, they're super weak, they're quite small, and they're absolutely terrified of you, and they should be, because you can absolutely murder them. The grunts call the Master Chief demon because they're so scared of what he can do to them. Of course, Halo Infinite launched without a campaign, and it's the first Halo game in 6 years, it's free to play, and this is the first time a Halo game has launched day one on PC. So there's going to be loads of people who have never played a Halo campaign before trying out Halo Infinite's multiplayer, and their only experience is Spartans going up against other Spartans. When you're matched up equally against other Spartans, obviously you don't feel all of those advantages, you don't feel how special you are and how powerful you are. It's kind of like two heavyweight boxers constantly trying to hurt each other, throwing punch after punch that looks like it has no effect because they can take it. If you put a heavyweight boxer up against a 5-year-old, then you'd really see what they were capable of. No, I'm not recommending that we have fights with heavyweight boxers against 5-year-olds, but can you imagine how powerful those punches would be? Titanfall 2, which is the best multiplayer game of the last generation, got around this problem with their pilots. Now, pilots, that's not a very impressive name. It's not strong as like Spartan. They're just called pilots because they pilot the mechs. They pilot the Titans from Titanfall. But in the lore, they are incredibly powerful. Similarly, they are augmented, they have loads of advantages over other soldiers, and you know about it in game, because while you're playing just a normal multiplayer round, there will be AI soldiers dotted around. They come in waves, there's grunts, and there's a few robots and things like that, and they talk about you. When you hear them on your side talking about you, they're in awe of you. They're like, hooray, we've got a pilot with us, we're definitely going to win. And if you see an enemy pilot, they're absolutely terrified, and they should be, because one punch from you will send them absolutely flying. They can't wall run like you can. They can't grapple across city blocks like you can. They don't use things like the smart pistol, which can lock onto 5 enemies from a mile away. They're nowhere near as strong as you. And it really sells that feeling of power that, like, when you're flying through the level, just taking out the odd grunt here and there because you get a couple of points for it, you feel like you can absolutely dominate them. And then when you see an enemy pilot, you know that that's a different thing entirely, that that's going to be a much tougher target, that's going to be something way more difficult to take out, something that's much more of a threat, because you've got that point of comparison. You can compare them to the normal soldiers, and I think that's the thing that Halo Infinite's lacking. I think the way Halo Infinite could fix this is either by having something like a Firefight mode, which previous Halo games have had, where you join up with other Spartans and you go fight like a load of AI characters, like a load of grunts and jackals and elites and things like that to get points, because then people would see exactly how powerful a Spartan is. Or they could even just basically copy Titanfall 2, and in some of the multiplayer maps, maybe within some of the big team battle modes, have some AI soldiers about, have some people or maybe some grunts or jackals or things like that you can fight, just so you can see, okay, this is how strong you are compared to anything that isn't a Spartan, just to give you that point of reference. If Halo Infinite gave you some kind of enemies that were just cannon fodder, something that you could easily destroy, then you'd really know what it means to be a Spartan. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments, how do you think they could let you feel like a Spartan in Halo Infinite? What changes could they make that would make you feel more powerful even though you're going up against other Spartans? I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts.